Yo, what's up, guys? It's Andrew from Garageband Professional. Today I'm going to run through my article, Top 12 Things Every Beginner Should Know. Um, you can see the article here at garagebandprofessional.com/things GarageBand beginners should know. I'll put the link in the description, but let's just get into it. I would say the first things first, that's a really good thing to know if you're first starting out to the platform, is to turn off the auto normalize function. And the auto normalize function, that is the function that it every time you export a song, either to SoundCloud or iTunes or whatever platform, you'll find that you won't be able to get it at a similar volume, at a competitive volume as all of the other people that you're competing against. So what you have to do, as I wrote about in my article here, is you go into preferences and then advanced, and you just click this box right here. I'll actually do it right now as well. That way you have a better idea of how to actually do it. So I'm just booting up GarageBand right now. Probably take a second. So yeah, you go to GarageBand, this button here, preferences, click advanced, and then you unclick this box, this auto normalize box right here. I already have it unclicked, but this will make it so that you can actually export projects at whatever volume you want, and then you can get to a point where you're actually at a competitive volume as all of the other people. So that's the first thing that you should know. The second thing that you should know is that at some point in time you're going to need to get an audio interface. In terms of what kind of one you want, it depends on what you're doing. If you're a guitar player, I would recommend getting the iRig HD2, which I'll put a link to Amazon in my video, in the description. But if you want a little more versatility and range, say for example you want to record vocals, or maybe you just want to mic and amp in the traditional way, I would recommend getting the Focusrite Scarlett 212 or 2i2. That'll pretty much take care of all your needs. I wrote about it in my article here, and I guess that's it for that one. We'll move on to the next one. Plugins are really cool, and you should definitely learn how to download them right away. There's the great thing about using a DAW is that there's so many plugins out there that you can get access to, and thankfully many of them are compatible with GarageBand. So it's great. It's great to learn how to do it. I have a link here to an article where I explain a step-by-step process for how to use plugins. I'm just going to click the link here and I'll show you what I mean. So yeah, in my article I do a step-by-step process, and this is I did a really good job of this article. Not only do I show you how to do it, but I give you a whole list of all the plugins that you should be able to download. There's many of them. I listed a lot of them. 99% of them are free, but I listed a few that you can buy, and typically the ones that you buy are a lot better than the free ones. For instance, if you get drummer, Superior Drummer, that's a sick one to have, or Amplitude or something like that. Anyway, let's move on to that. Today, I'm just trying to run through the articles quick, because having 25-minute long articles is no good. Let's try and get it down to 10 minutes. You can also have more than 6 plugins on each instrument track, which is something that I discovered in the last year or two. You can see in this picture here that I've added a whole bunch of plugins. In order to do that, I'll just show you how to do it right now. So you go get into your plugins. You hover your cursor a little bit below the last plugin, and a little white line will appear. You click on it, click a plugin, and boom, all of a sudden you got a new one. Let's do it again. So little white line, click on it. It'll make it seem like you're just changing an already existing plugin, but really you're not. Hit single band EQ. There, you got another one. Let's do it one more time. Click the little white line. Let's click another one. There. So that's how you do it. And you can do, I think there's a limit of 16. Now, You probably won't need that many, but I mean, it's nice to be able to have more than one plugin running or more than six. Number five, I would say to avoid wasting hours of your time mixing, because in my personal experience, the more time you spend mixing, the more you kind of just mess everything up. It just seems like when you're first starting out, you don't really know how to mix that well, so you're better off just to do a few very simple things that are proven tactics to work. Now, typically, what I do is I throw in a compressor, an EQ, and then a limiter, and that's honestly that's pretty much it. I don't add much else. Sometimes I add a multipressor. I try to keep it as simple as possible. Maybe I'll add a noise gate to the vocals and things like that. But either way, it's best to get it done right, like fairly shortly. Within 15 minutes. Yeah, what else did I want to say about that? Oh yeah, essentially the point is kind of just to push yourself away from perfectionism, because I find that when you're a perfectionist, you end up just not producing anything at all, and that's no good. You want to make as much stuff as possible. The next point is more of like a personal beef of mine. I say stop arguing with people online about what's the better DAW. This is one of those. It's one of those things that are just it's a procrastination tool, really. People are just spending all their time online arguing about what's the better DAW, and it's not. It's just not a very good use of your time. And I feel like if you're really serious about this shit, you should be making songs and working and making Instagram videos and doing all kinds of stuff. You shouldn't be arguing with people about things that ultimately don't really matter that much. Moving on, number seven, compression. Simply put, compression is a tool that lowers the volume of the loud sounds and it increases the volume of the quiet sounds. And that's pretty much the end of compression. Obviously, it can be used for other things as well, but that's what it is essentially. That's what it is, and you'll figure out. At first, I didn't understand why there was such a, why there's such a hype around the compressor. Everyone's always talking about it, but it really is a very useful tool, and that's why it's useful for vocals. It's useful for guitar. You can use it for pretty much everything. It's very good to use. The next point is to recognize all of GarageBand's commands. They're actually pretty handy. I listed about 10 of them here. I'm not going to run through each one individually. Excuse me. But if you just check out the article that I linked in the description, you'll find at number 8 that I have a list of all of the most useful commands that I use. There's definitely more of them, but I don't use all of them. These are the main ones that I use, and I put them in the article. Number 9, make sure to use the quantizer function. Now, the quantizer function, I'm going to have to open up an old file here just to show you what I'm talking about. So we're loading up an old song right now. The quantizer function, essentially, it cleans everything up. It makes all of your notes fall exactly on the grid line. And the reason why that's good is that it fixes it, and it makes it perfect. Essentially, it makes every note fall exactly on the grid line, like you can see here. You can see these little green dots; they all fall on the line, and it makes it so the beat is in time. Now, there's a fear that you will rob the character of a song if you make everything perfect, and that's true. But I mean, there's some areas where I think using a quantizer function is definitely very useful, and I definitely encourage using it. It's better to have a beat that's too perfect than one that's not very good. In order to use it, you just click this button here, this time quantize. Usually a 16th note is what you want, and then you hit strength at 100, and that will just pull all of the MIDI instrument things exactly on the grid line. So moving on, Make your melodies and your rhythm sections 4 measures or numbers divisible of 4. So, for instance, 4, 8, 16, 32. And by that, I just mean that, see, you can see here, for example, it goes 29, 30, 31, 32. This is 1, 2, 3. This is 4 measures long. And it's best to do this when you're first starting out. You can experiment with more sophisticated time signatures or note groupings later on. When you're first starting out, I had this trouble where I would make a song and then it wouldn't be exactly 4/4, so I would end up having kind of like mismatched music, and obviously that's not good. So I would just go for 4 measures at first. You'll eventually figure out how to get more out of it later on. And number 11, make sure to download all of the available sounds. So to do that, you just go into Garageband, sound library, and then download all available sounds. And then it's going to take a while though. It's going to take, probably a couple hours. Make sure you have good internet connection, otherwise it won't work that well. And that will just give you access to all of the instruments that, Garageband has available. And obviously you want all those, right? And also, don't discount the loops. The loops are actually pretty awesome. I didn't use them for the first full year of using this this software, and I kind of regret it. They're great, man. They're actually good. There's thousands of them, and they sound good. Now you're probably wondering if you can use them without getting nailed by, without getting sued. Let's say, for example, you make a song and it's a hit. Like, will you get sued? According to the article that I wrote about in this article, you can use Apple loops legally and royalty free. However, I think some people have had an issue where, for instance, if you make a song that has a loop in it and somebody else has a song that has a loop in it, well, now you both have the same piece of music in your music. So I think potentially there may be an issue with other creators, but not Apple. Like, Apple will never come after you for using the loops that they've essentially given to you for free. I could be wrong about this. I'm fairly certain I'm correct, because it says it right here in their terms and conditions, which I screenshotted right here. I'm not going to read through it right now, but you can see it right here. If you want to read more about that, you can just check out this article on my website, garagebandprofessional.com. Kind of use Apple loops legally and royalty free. I might actually link to all these articles right in the description. But anyway, that's it. That's it for this topic for today. I hope this helped you. I'll see you next time.